And like I just showed you in those images at the start of this show, the showdown over the hijab row that began in Karnataka is intensified, with pro and anti-hijab protests erupting in different parts of India, from an all-out political battle between the netas and Bollywood celebrities jumping into this hotbed. The hijab campus controversy has escalated to a full national story. And remember, it was India Today that broke the story first. Take a look at today's detailed report. The 6 Udupi students who triggered Karnataka's hijab war. A day after they received their first setback from the state's High Court, they received their second setback today from the country's Supreme Court. Their demand to be allowed to wear hijabs to class declined by a 3-judge bench in Bengaluru on Thursday. On Friday, the Supreme Court refused an urgent hearing, saying it will hear the issue at an appropriate time.
Petitioners before the Apex Court argued that this is effectively suspending their fundamental rights. The Apex Court has said that this is not an appropriate time for the Supreme Court to step in and let the Karnataka High Court deal with the matter at the moment.
Continuing with its agenda-setting coverage of the story grabbing national attention, India Today's reporters also spotted protests breaking out in several parts of the country. From Chennai,
protest in favor of wearing hijab is occurring at Chennai currently. This is Aminurusa Mosque in Chennai, a prominent spot where you could see protesters have gathered. They are holding placards in their hand saying that hijab is their identity and it is not acceptable to overstep on it.
to Uttar Pradesh's Aligarh, from Visakhapatnam to Malegaon. As the protests spread and intensified, netas faced off on an issue that is no longer confined to Karnataka.
ये सोची समझी रणनीति है पीआईएफ जैसी संस्था जिस पर कहीं केरल ने रोक लगाई है और ये लोग जानबूझ करके पूरे देश में भारत को बदनाम करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। पाकिस्तान की एंट्री हो गई। आज इसीलिए देश में जरूरत है एक देश एक कानून, कॉमन सिविल कोड होनी चाहिए। ये देश एक है, कानून भी अब एक होनी चाहिए।
इस तरीके से इश्यू बना के डिफरेंसेस क्रिएट मत करिए। हमारे बहनों को पढ़ने दीजिए, आगे बढ़ने दीजिए, चाहे मुसलमान रहने दो चाहे हिंदू रहने दो। आप डिफरेंसेस पैदा मत करिए। ये पॉलिटिकल एजेंडे की खातिर ये जो ना डिफरेंसेस पैदा करके ये लोगों को दबाया जा रहा है।
Meanwhile, the 6 petitioners continue to be cloistered by the Islamist group, the Campus Front of India, a group directly accused by the Karnataka government of instigating the protests. Meanwhile, with schools all set to open, classes 1 to 10 from Monday in Karnataka, all eyes will be on safety and court compliance.
ಆದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ಹಿಜಾಬ್ ಏನು ಉಂಟು ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಅದನ್ನ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಆ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿನಿಯರು ಅವರ ಹಿಂದೆ ಯಾರಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅವರು ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸಿದ್ರೆ
Will things return to normal, or will the ugly scenes Udupi witnessed this week return to haunt coastal Karnataka? With Nabila Jamal in Udupi and Anisha Mathur in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today. And one of the places which has seen pretty big protests today has been the city of Chennai. India Today's Pramod Madhav joins me live from the city. Pramod, those protests have been going on for quite a long time now. Who has organized these protests? Where have these people come from? Who's fueling this protest? It doesn't appear to be spontaneous, appears to be pretty organized.
Well, Shiv, this is the second protest that is occurring in Chennai today, and this is at Vallur Kotam, where you could see a large number of people have gathered, especially Muslim women have also participated in this protest. The earlier one was conducted by Tipu Sultan Party, that was at Royapeta, right outside a mosque. But this has been organized by various activists from the state, which also includes May 17 movements, Tirumurugan Gandhi, like Valarmadi, who was fighting against Pollachi sexual abuse atrocity, and various other leaders also work here. In fact, one of the MPs from Congress Party, he was also present at this spot and he also spoke. And here the women have gathered for the very same reason, to extend their support to Muslim students from Karnataka and stating that hijab is a right. In fact, I have a couple of women who are protesting at this spot. Ma'am, could you please tell us why have you participated in this protest here?
Yeah, so basically this is in solidarity with the women of Karnataka, the students of Karnataka. So why this issue? Why has it suddenly arisen? You know, this was never an issue. The hijab was never an issue. And then why even link it to our education? Why is the right to education being denied? And covering the head has never been an issue for any Indian women, not just the Muslim women. Women of various faiths cover their head. So this has never been an issue. For any thinking individual, this seems like this is a smokescreen. What is the agenda behind it?
But there is also an allegation stating that Muslim women in certain institutions only started covering their head only since December. Before then, it was not that, it was instigated. What do you have to say about that?
Indian women have been covering their head. Forget Muslim women, European women, Indian women, they've all been covering their heads. Everybody has been covering their heads. So this has never been an issue. So why is it being made into such a big issue? You know, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't seem that's the issue. There's definitely a smokescreen for something else behind.
Why do you say there is something else? What do you think it is?
Because that's what's been happening. If you look back, you know, not a long history ago, just some time ago, there are so many scams happening, and always there has been some smokescreen in front, which is made into a bigger issue. So that's why.
How did you come to know of this protest over here? Who actually asked you to come to this place?
We got messages from thing, and basically our group is the one who organized it. So we are all part of it. We are all together in it. The main thing is now when the Constitution of India itself, in Article number 25, says that you have the freedom to how do you say it guarantees freedom of religion to all individuals. Okay, it says that all persons are equally entitled to freedom of conscience and the right to freely profess, practice, and propagate religion subject to morality. So, and basically this, and many people out there who say that this is an oppressive dress code. To be honest, it is not an oppressive dress code, and this is out of our own will, out of our own freedom of choice. In Islam, in the Quran, in Surah Maida, it says that La ikraha fi din. There is no obligation in religion. We don't compel anybody to wear the hijab, and at the same time, nobody will have any objection for us not to wear the hijab also. Okay, this is out of our own free will when we are doing it. I think this is just basically, how do you say, the Hindutva is just targeting the Muslims because, after the limelight, the scene of the Shaheen Bagh, we've come into limelight. The women, the Muslim women especially, they have shaken many, they've raised their voice and they've shaken the seats of power out there. So that's
what you say about the Karnataka court claiming that uniform must be followed because there is a reason for students to follow a uniform code.
See, that's what I told. When the Constitution of India itself has given us the right to practice our religion, who are they? The management, it all comes under the Indian thing, right? So because uniform, no doubt, we have to wear. They've asked us to remove this black thing. Okay, they said yes, but this thing we said no, right? This is the basic thing, and apart from that, I think we can oblige to the uniform of the institution. Yeah.
So here, the protesters are stating that they are gathered over here because they claim hijab is a right, and these two women over here have very clearly expressed that it is being provided as a right by the Constitution, and that's what they want to express over here at this protest.
Okay, so images coming in from Chennai of a pretty large organized protest there. Most people unwilling to comment on how this is not just a matter of choice. Many of these young students perhaps have been conditioned. Some of them have been on television to say that they've been wearing hijab since they were in class 1. When has that ever been a matter of choice? Is this about conditioning? But please bear with me, ladies and gentlemen, because here on 5 Live, in just a few short minutes, I'm going to tell you about the possible origins of the hijab war. So far, a narrative has been put out there that this was some kind of righteous eruption by a certain section of students. But there may be much more to it. There may be layers, and there are groups that have been instigating these students and their parents, and we're going to lay it bare probably in just a few minutes from now. But before that, in part 2 of my broadcast today, Bollywood celebrities who are usually blamed for being silent and selectively pick up issues to create their own traction have now jumped into the hijab mess in our educational campuses in Karnataka. Our next report gets you all the reactions that have come in from celebrities. It started with Kangana. Sonam Kapoor also waded in to this whole thing. Take a look at how that played out. Protests and counter-protests. The Hijab Showdown in Karnataka has sparked a massive nationwide debate for and against a hijab ban in educational institutions. And now celebrities have waded into the entire controversy, with the likes of Sonam Kapoor, Kangana Ranaut and Shabana Azmi speaking out. Actor Sonam Kapoor shared this post on her Instagram stories, contending that if turbans are a choice, then why not the hijab? Sonam shared the post that's gone viral on Instagram, which has a picture of Canadian politician Jagmeet Singh, known for his anti-India rants. The post shows him wearing a turban and a Muslim woman wearing a hijab. Sonam's post came hours after Kangana Ranaut, known for her controversial no-filter comments, posted on her Instagram about the hijab war. Kangana in her post said courage would be not wearing the hijab in Afghanistan. She added, and I quote, "Learn to break free, not cage yourself." Soon after Kangana's Afghanistan comment, veteran actor Shabana Azmi hit back, taking to Twitter to slam Kangana's comparison of India and Afghanistan, saying India is a secular democratic republic, whereas Afghanistan is a theocratic state. Several celebrities, in fact, offered their condemnation days ago when a video had emerged of a Muslim student, Muskan, being heckled by saffron-clad boys. Lyricist Javed Akhtar, actor Swara Bhaskar, Richa Chadda all slammed the heckling and demanded action against the boys who were seen in the video. India Today, remember, was the first to speak to Muskan after her ordeal. The issue even gained international attention after star football player Paul Pogba shared a video from the Hijab Showdown in Karnataka on his Instagram stories. Nobel laureate Malala Yousafzai has also made headlines condemning the ban on hijabs in educational institutions. With Bollywood and international influencers sharing their views, the hijab debate from coastal Karnataka has snowballed into a big, growing talking point across the world. Bureau Report, India Today. And as I told you at the beginning of this broadcast, we are about to uncover some facts and some allegations that may reveal the true origin of the hijab war that has erupted in coastal Karnataka. We're revealing that the hijab war was not a spontaneous flare-up, perhaps. And we have the inside story of how the hijab war is suspected to have actually begun. What is the genesis of this hijab showdown that has now gone completely national? Let's try and break it down for you now. Okay, we've got a timeline of how this actually may have happened. 30th October 2021, girls in hijab were seen at an ABVP protest in Udupi. These were students of that particular college itself, the PU college. They were seen at an ABVP protest against an alleged rape of a girl in Manipal earlier. In the first week of December 2021, parents started to allege that the girls were forced to attend this ABVP protest. You must be wondering, why were these girls in hijabs in an ABVP protest? Aren't they part of the, quote-unquote enemy camp, as it were, politically speaking? First week of December, the Campus Front of India, an Islamist group, backed the parents. They actually approached the parents to take on the college management. In effect, what they allegedly did was stoke the emotions of the parents and said, let's take this up with the principal and the college because this is unacceptable. How can these students be part of an ABVP protest? Then the students in the first week of December began to protest for allowing of hijab inside their campus. On the 14th of December, 6 students, the ones who you've seen here on India Today, submitted a memorandum to the education department in Udupi saying, please allow us to wear hijab. We will not enter without our hijab. The students alleged that they had been barred from classes in hijab. Remember, the principal of their college is on record to India Today to say that for 35 years, this institution has never permitted students to wear hijab inside the campus, or definitely not inside the class. They also always have to take it off before entering the class. On 14th of December, talks with college authorities failed. Basically, the Campus Front of India persons, along with the parents of these students, went to the principal, but those talks basically broke down because the school said, the school basically said, nothing doing, you can't do this. 3rd Jan 2022, 2 days after India Today broke the story, setting the national news agenda, students in Koppa, Chikmagalur protested in saffron shawls. So basically, 4 days after the students and their parents, along with the CFI, went to the principal, other students, Hindu students, wore saffron shawls and they began to protest. Karnataka government asked the Udupi college to maintain status quo and not to change any of its rules. By 31st January, 2 petitions were filed by students in Karnataka's High Court seeking relief to wear the hijab. And it is after that we've seen violence actually break out. The pre-university college, which is basically class 11 and 12 in Karnataka, shut out the students in hijab after protests by students wearing saffron shawls. 4th of February, more than 300 students in hijab and saffron shawls were banned from entering the pre-university college, which is a government pre-university college in Udupi. 5th of February, Karnataka government ordered colleges to ban clothes that disturb equality, integrity and law and order. And this was the trigger for the big protests that took place. The Karnataka government ordered the closure of colleges for 3 whole days until today. The Karnataka government has ordered closure for colleges for 3 days. Last night, as India Today broke, they will be opening those colleges on the 14th, that is Monday, for class 1 to 10. The Karnataka High Court has said that in the interim, no hijab or saffron shawls will be allowed inside class. This has already triggered a huge wave of protests, with the Supreme Court today saying it will not conduct an urgent hearing of the case. Let it be heard by the Karnataka High Court, which will be hearing it once again, remember, on Monday.
We have not banned hijab. We have only asked to remove the hijab in the classroom. In the veranda, till the classroom it is allowed. When the class starts, we asked to remove it. Like earlier, it is not from the earlier. So one conspiracy is that. Second is that, see, these students were coming from 1.5 years in the classroom without hijab. When they came to contact with the campus front of India, after that they started hijab issue in the December 30th. In that, they are in the front with burqa, not only hijab, with burqa they are there. That was an issue for campus front of India. Muslim girls are going for a ABVP protest. That why the event is, it was a ladies issue. One lady girl.
Completely एक nonsense है. ऐसे कुछ छोटे मोटे बात को लेके completely एक issue को इधर गुमराने के लिए की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. तो issue totally क्या है बोले तो conspiracy का behind क्या है बोले तो ये issue को लेके बीजेपी गवर्नमेंट फायदा उठाने को चाह रही है. ये इसका पीछे का एक साजिश है.
Nagarjun Dwarkanath breaking the origin of the hijab war is live with me on the story. Naga, it didn't begin in December, it didn't begin in January, it certainly didn't begin in February. It likely started sometime in October last year, over 4 or 5 months ago, when that picture of students in their hijabs were part of that ABVP protest. That appears to have been the trigger of everything that has followed since then, Naga.
Well, that is absolutely true, Shiv. When we started digging out as to what was the genesis of the whole hijab story, because randomly people wore saffron shawls in schools. How did this get triggered? How did this become a national, international story? So when India Today started to do some background investigation, we reached down to a point 3-4 months back in 2021, late October, early November, where there was a protest in Udupi on a rape issue, where there was an alleged rape on a student in Manipal in Udupi district. And the student community had got together to condemn and seek an investigation. And in this photo that we have accessed, we can see a couple of students wearing hijab too are holding ABVP banner. What happened post then was the CFI, which is the Campus Friend of India, took offense to it, saying, how can people with hijab be a part of the ABVP camp? Like you put, quote unquote, the enemy political camp. How can they be a part of it? So immediately they went and questioned the family, and the family in turn went to the college saying, how can you guys allow our children to be a part of the protest? The college authority should take the recognition of this, and you, the authority, should not make sure that our children mingle with ABVP camp. And the college tells the parents that it is not our responsibility. This was voluntary protest. we have marked the student as absent. Whoever went to the protest has been marked as absent. The attendance register sheet also was given to the parents, and the parents were told your daughter has gone voluntarily and the college is not forced. And what the principal claim is that he seems to feel that post that the Campus Front of India took offense and said that, okay, as to teach a lesson, we will wear hijab in the classrooms. And for the last 35 years, the Udupi College, where this whole issue started, the mega political issue started in the Udupi College, the principal swears that in the last 35 years, the college has not allowed any hijab within the classroom walls. From 9:30 to 4 p.m., every student only wears the uniform in front of the blackboard.
Naga,
only when they step out for lunch.
This timeline suggests that it was the Campus Front of India that basically instigated the parents. I mean, if these students were there at that protest and the parents had a problem with it, that was between the parents and the students. It appears that the Campus Front of India has jumped in and made it into a bigger public issue.
Well, that is true, Shiv. To endorse this fact and the statement, the principal also has come on board. He spoke to us. In fact, I spoke to him this morning. He also felt that I cannot believe my students are talking like this. I convinced the Muslim community, I convinced the CFI, I convinced the parents of the children, saying, why are you all doing this? We have been living in a harmony. We are living together. The last 2 years, our students have come here. You know the teachers very well. Why is it happening right now? The parents apparently confessed in front of the principal that we have gone too far. We have been influenced. We can't come back from the point. We are in a point of no return. You yourself help us and let us wear the hijab. We can't go back because we have come too far and people are influencing is what the principal says. Because the father of one of the petitioner told the principal, my daughter is not listening to me anymore. So the principal questioned, if your daughter is not listening to you, who is she listening to? A big question mark. Is she being influenced by an external force? Is
very big questions. Very big questions for the Campus Front of India. They've taken some of our questions. They've, distracted away from other questions. But we're going to try and get the PFI, the CFI back on our channel to put these questions to her, because these new facts that Nagarjun Dwarkanath has uncovered put the spotlight squarely back on the Campus Front of India. Naga, thanks for the moment. India Today, also the only channel, as usual, to speak to the Udupi Government College principal of that very college where this entire thing started, Rudre Gowda, on the hijab controversy. Listen to what he told us.
ಕನ್ವಿನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಅದೆಲ್ಲವನ್ನೂ ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮ ಮಿತಿಮೀರಿದ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನವನ್ನು ನಾವು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಅವರು ಇನ್ನೂ ಕೂಡ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಶಾಲೆಗೆ ಬರಲಿ, ಶಾಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕಲೀಲಿ. ಸೊ ನಮ್ಮ ಶಾಲೆ ಶಿಸ್ತು ಮತ್ತು ಅವ್ರಿಗೂ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ, ಅವರ ಅಮ್ಮಂದಿರು ಚಿಕ್ಕಮ್ಮಂದಿರು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕಲ್ತು ಹೋಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅವರ ಇನ್ಫ್ಲೂಯೆನ್ಸ್ ಇಂದನೇ ಈ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಬರ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಅದೇ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ನೆರಡು ತಿಂಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆಯನ್ನು ಮುಗಿಸಿ ಅವರು ಹೋಗ್ಲಿದ್ರು ಸರ್. ಅಲ್ಲ, ಎಲ್ಲರ ನಮ್ಮದಲ್ಲ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ನಾವು ಮಾಡಿದೀವಿ, ಇನ್ನೂ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ. ಮತ್ತು ಅವರಿಗೆ ಯಾವ ಏನು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ, ಈಗಲೂ ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ತಯಾರಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಅವರು ಬೇರೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿಯ ಒಂದು ಅಶಿಸ್ತಿನಿಂದ ವರ್ತನೆಯನ್ನ ಮಾಡೋದು ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಶಿಸ್ತಿನಿಂದ ಕಾಲೇಜಿಗೆ ಬಂದು ಅವರು ಪಾಠ ಕೇಳಿ ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆಯನ್ನು ಬರೀಲಿ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದೇ ನಮ್ಮ ಮತ್ತು ಇಲಾಖೆ ಎಲ್ಲರ ಆಶಯ ಕೂಡ ಅಷ್ಟೇ.
ಸರ್, ಈಗ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಏನೋ ಇನ್ನು ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ ಅಂತೆಲ್ಲ ನಿನ್ನೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಇದು ಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಆರ್ಡರ್ ಬರುವವರೆಗೂ ನಾವು ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬೇರೆ ಅಂತ
ಅಲ್ಲ, ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೆ ನೋಡಿ ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಮೊನ್ನೆ ಕೋವಿಡ್ ಪಾಸಿಟಿವ್ ಬಂದು 8-10 ದಿನ ಕಾಲೇಜ್ ಸೀಲ್ ಡೌನ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಆಗ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಈಗಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಈಗಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಅವರು ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಪಾಠ ಕೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿಯ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿಯ ತೊಂದರೆ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಅವ್ರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ಅದು. ಆದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ಹಿಜಾಬ್ ಏನು ಉಂಟು, ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಅದನ್ನ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಆ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿನಿಯರು, ಅವರ ಹಿಂದೆ ಯಾರಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅವರು ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸಿದ್ರೆ ಒಳ್ಳೇದು ನಮಗೂ ಕೂಡ. ಮತ್ತೆ 900 ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿನಿಯರು ಇಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇಡೀ ನಮ್ಮ ಉಡುಪಿ ಜಿಲ್ಲೆ ಏನುಂಟು, ಅದರ ಘನತೆ ಶಿಸ್ತು ಏನುಂಟು, ಅದನ್ನ ಅವರು ಕಾಪಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದೇ ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಆಶಯ. ಸೊ ಆದ್ರಿಂದ ಕೋರ್ಟು ಮತ್ತೆ ಇಲಾಖೆ ಏನು ನಿರ್ಧಾರ ತಗೊಳ್ತದೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಬದ್ಧರಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಿಬ್ಬಂದಿಯವರು ಅಥವಾ ಆಡಳಿತ ಮಂಡಳಿ ಹಿತಾಸಕ್ತಿ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೂ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ. ಸರಿ.
Now, like I said, the hijab story has gone way beyond coastal Karnataka and Udupi and stretched to other parts of the country. Take a look at where all these protests are happening. And these are not small ad hoc piecemeal protests. These are all highly organized. The hijab war has spread to Kerala, where the Chief Minister has slammed the order against hijab. In Tamil Nadu, pro-hijab protests we just showed you have erupted in Chennai. In Karnataka, students with hijab have been denied entry for their examinations. In Andhra Pradesh's Visakhapatnam, pro-hijab stir has also started over there. In Maharashtra's Malegaon, big pro-hijab protest. In Bengal, Muslim girls have hit the streets in Kolkata in a pro-hijab solidarity show. Security has been beefed up in Uttar Pradesh, which is in election mode after a showdown in Aligarh. In Delhi yesterday, massive student protests broke out, after which students were detained at Karnataka Bhavan. It has happened at Shaheen Bagh as well. And in Jammu, there's an anti-hijab agitation that has taken place. So this has truly become a pan-Indian story, certainly not just confined to Karnataka. The Hijab Showdown, now a national story. Media wakes up after India Today news break. All students first on India Today.
This is my choice, and this is not the first time I'm wearing hijab. Since I was child, I'm wearing this hijab, and I'm proud to wear hijab.
It's a simple, a small issue. It could be solved inside the classroom. A principal made it a big issue later. Because of him, it became this much. This is a right, sir. If something is written, something is a right to them to wear a saffron shawl, let them wear.
Students with hijabs from entering classrooms and colleges.
Our coverage is booming in Parliament.
हिजाब पहनना कोई गुनाह तो नहीं है.
We've forced all channels to cover this. Our aim, students study, stokers silenced. Students trust India Today, none other. India Today, the gold standard. And there's a reason why India Today has dominated viewership on this big story that we first broke on January the 1st. And the reason is students on both sides of this debate. And let's never forget, these are young Indian citizens we're talking about. They're the ones who choose India Today to have their say and make their opinions known. Take a look at voices from both sides.
If a saffron shawl is a right to them, they can allow it. But they created this issue soon after we are wearing it. This we are wearing it from before. Our ancestors, everybody used to wear this headscarf. Not only us, but everybody used to wear. I don't know where they brought a new rule.
We are trying to tell that we value the uniform. We are not going against anybody's religion or their cultural practice or anything. We are asking for the uniformity. It was we never went against their religion. What they are thinking is we are opposing their religion, their practice of religion. It is not that matter.
In India, for a girl to ask for a justice, she must have been trained or what? She should be trained for ask to justice. Some other people should be trained her to ask for justice. Why I can't raise my voice for a justice?
Nobody asked them to leave their religion and come. Let them practice. Even we are practicing our own religion, but there are places where you should place education first and religion next. First, we are citizens of India. We are studying for the betterment of the country. We ask for uniformity, equality, unity in diversity again.
Malegaon to Visakhapatnam, to Kalaburgi, to Jammu, to Chennai. These protests are continuing. The weekend is here, ladies and gentlemen, and there is no reason to believe that these protests will not continue over the weekend. Schools, classes starting from 1 to 10 in Karnataka will reopen on Monday, but there is no clarity just yet from the government about when classes 11 and 12, which are the operative classes, because it is to these classes that the protesters actually belong. When will these classes open once again is not known just yet. Okay, we've got big breaking news coming in right now on 5 Live. A paramilitary flag march has just taken place in Udupi. This is a huge development from coastal Karnataka. A city that is famous for its educational institutions. Students from all over the country go to Udupi for its colleges. A flag march by police and paramilitary forces is taking place in Udupi. Scenes like these perhaps have never been seen before in the district of Udupi. And these are the images that we are breaking to you first and exclusive here on India Today. A flag march by security forces to send out a message to keep the peace amidst inputs that there probably will be trouble fomented by religious groups on both sides, whether it is the Campus Front of India, whether it is the Shri Ram Sene, whether it is other fringe groups on both sides. The security establishment in Udupi, the district administration, has clearly felt the need to flex a little bit of administrative muscle and conduct a flag march by security forces. Many disturbing implications to the pictures you're seeing on your screen, ladies and gentlemen. This comes just 2 days after students were in a turbulent clash on streets very close to this one. And therefore the district administration feeling the need to send out a message that no violence, no tension will be tolerated. The government has already called for peace. The government has already called for restraint by religious groups and the students themselves. It's a weekend and there is reason to believe that many of these groups might be planning bigger protests as well. But the clear message coming in from the government, from these groups, is that the peace must be kept and that nobody must take the law into their own hands. The channel that broke the story, as always, once again, bringing you the first visuals of this big news break from Udupi. Security forces in a flag march. A flag march is basically a peaceful march through a town or city, basically as a reminder to the public and the citizens that the administration is vigilant, that the security forces are on scramble alert, and nobody who takes the law into their own hands and creates trouble, disturbs public order, will be tolerated. They will be handled under the strictest provisions of the law. With their lathis in hand, we've already seen lathi charges taking place a few days ago during the big protest between the Saffronite students and the Hijab students. And now you've got a situation where a city largely peaceful, known mostly for its educational institutions, has become an epicenter of discontent, of tension, of communal divide at the student level. And now paramilitary forces are having to be deployed for a flag march with these pictures only on India Today. Pictures that are drenched in implication. Parents of students watching these pictures will be worried. They will be wondering, what level have we reached in the town of Udupi and in coastal Karnataka, a state that is so progressive, a state that in many ways is the capital of education in the country, has descended down to a situation where international stars are commenting on the transpirations of a few days ago. A large column of security forces, paramilitary and police, with vehicles conducting this unfortunate news break. A flag march in the center of Udupi. We'll have our reporter with us live in just a few minutes from now to give us a sense of why this flag march was necessary. But it is pretty plain to see that on the back of the tension that took place a few days ago, with stone pelting, with lathi charges, with some people getting hurt even, with students on both sides taking the law into their own hands, invading campuses, hoisting flags, things like that, the administration does not want to take any chances. With school reopening on Monday for classes 1 to 10, clearly the Udupi administration, under instructions from Bengaluru and the Bombay government, has decided that it needs to show firmness and resolve even in the face of students. And that's what makes this so tragic. The fact that a flag march is necessary on the back of the actions of students who've been instigated by cynical, communal-based outside groups who are using many of these students as pawns, stirring up the emotions of their parents and turning Udupi into a campus war zone. Mustafa Sheikh live with me from Udupi on this big breaking story. As always, first here on India Today. Mustafa, very, very compelling images from Udupi of a big flag march by the paramilitary forces. Tell us more about what's happening. Why was it felt necessary for a flag march to be conducted at this time?
Well, yes, Shiv, in the last few days we had seen some law and order issue in Udupi, due to which the issue had then gone to court. Now the Karnataka government has to again reopen schools and colleges. For that they need a law and order to be in place, and hence we are getting to see flag march which is happening by the rapid action forces in Udupi, so that a message can be sent that the government is prepared enough to tackle any law and order situation, because then it will be better for the government to come, the normalcy has to come back. Schools and colleges have to slowly start, and hence they are carrying out this flag march and preparing and taking prevention for any other law and order issue taking place.
Are they expecting some kind of tension, Mustafa, on the back of what happened a couple of days ago? Is the police nervous that student groups might take matters into their own hands? Because as we've established here on India Today, it is pretty clear that these students are being instigated by outside groups.
Well, the situation in Udupi actually went out of hand pretty quickly, so it can happen again, because there is one group which are happy about the verdict, the other group is not happy. So there can be some instigation due to which law and order issues can take place, not only in Udupi, adjoining areas and other parts of Karnataka. That remains to be a concern. In fact, that's the reason why the government as of now has not announced the reopening of colleges. They are only saying that a high school will be opened up, and they are still to take decision on opening up of colleges. So it really goes to show that the police first wants to prepare so that no untoward incident can take place before reopening the colleges once again.
I want to bring in Malavika Avinash, who is a member of the BJP in Karnataka. Malavika, images live on our screen right now of a big flag march by police and security forces on the streets of Udupi. Very unsettling images. Udupi is before this week has been a peaceful city, student city, lots of educational institutions. Can you throw some light on why this flag march has been deemed necessary? Because the parents of students would be wondering, where has this entire situation descended to? Is the establishment expecting more tension?
It pains me just as it pains you to see Udupi like this, because you hail from Udupi and I have seen Udupi from childhood as a temple town. We go to Udupi to visit all the temples and the Ashtamata, not to see a flag march. It's unfortunate that this situation has unfolded. It's essentially because of many of the radical elements that seem to have got into the situation to somehow use it to their advantage. I'm sure you're aware of the various developments over the last week. The police has been investigating into the protests that turned violent some days ago. There was stone pelting in Karnataka, and there was a very tense atmosphere. And the police has started investigation into this. And parallelly, we are becoming more and more aware of the manner in which the Campus Front of India, which is the frontal organization, the student organization of Popular Front of India, which has been wading into these waters in especially that Udupi college following that ABVP protest. So it is incumbent upon the government now to go into all those angles and to ensure that peace is not broken again, because the schools have to reopen on Monday, and we cannot have tense situation in the state. And therefore the Home Minister has only done what is necessary. Yes, it's unfortunate, but it's necessary. I do appeal to all the students not to get carried away by any radical elements that try to brainwash them, because that's exactly what's happened to these girls. Some of these girls who never wore hijab earlier insisted, and have the situation has reached where it has.
Very unfortunate but necessary, says the ruling BJP in Karnataka. Malavika, thanks for joining me on this story. I feel the same way. It's very tragic to have to report these images. This is a beautiful town that's famous for its educational institutions, and to have to report images of this kind at a time when there is a great deal of anxiety already regarding students getting back to school on Monday. There's going to be a lot of anxiety and apprehension in the minds of parents when they see a flag march of this kind. But just to make it very clear, we're hearing from the government that they don't have any specific inputs about possible tension. But given the kind of tension that did take place, and you've got those pictures on your screen from a few days ago, February the 8th, the kind of tension that actually took place, the government has basically done this as a cautionary move. It's more of an optical a move to send out a message to the public that the police is cognizant, the police is on alert, the security forces will keep students safe. I hope they don't need to be deployed when school opens, but part of the responsibility of administrations is preempting violence as well. There is no reason to believe that there is any intelligence alert about anyone planning to foment violence, but if the events of February the 8th are any indication, ladies and gentlemen, then parents will want some kind of reassurance. Parents of the students who are wearing hijabs, parents of the students in their saffron shawls. All sides will hope that things can return peacefully and acceptably to everyone very, very quickly. Remember, the situation is still in court.